So, you want to own a project car. Let me tell you a bit about that. Here is my project car, as we all know and love. It is a 1997 Infiniti Q45 base. I don't have the touring because I'm not cool. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about what it's like to own one of these and put up with it on the daily. So let's get into it. First thing, what should we be looking for here? Obviously, shopping around for a project car, you can't start just looking at cars. You have to know your financial situation pretty well. If you're like me and you're very broke and you don't really have any strong sources of income coming in, it's not for you. This is not the life for you. This is not what you want. This is not what you're gonna, this is not what's gonna make you happy, because it's gonna make you a lot less happy once it starts hitting your bank account. So there's one thing out of the way. Don't get a project car if you're broke. Now you may be asking yourself, well, you have one and you're broke. You're not listening to yourself. And to that I say, yes, I agree. I am very broke. I shouldn't have one. But I am very, very lucky with this one because I got it completely for free. So I didn't have to even pay the price to buy the car. I just received it. And second of all, I have been very, very lucky because this has actually been extremely reliable for a project car. No major breakdowns ever. No huge repair costs, anything like that. Honestly, you'd think it's just a daily driver the way it treats me. Knock on wood, of course, because who knows with, 220,000 miles what it could do to me. But yes, I've been very lucky, and I completely agree. I'm very broke, and I should not have one of these, but we've made it happen. We've made it work, and yeah, it's great. It's great. But that's really the first thing you should know in project car world is if you're broke, don't get one because it could have some adverse effects. But if you have a nice stream of income and you've decided, all right, I could actually afford this. I got a couple grand sitting around. I have nothing to do with it. Let's waste it all. Then you can hop into a project car like me. And let's talk about that a little bit now. So, number two, once you have the money for a project car, let's go shopping for one, shall we? And obviously, this is my first one. I'm not a professional at shopping for these at all, but I have a buddy who is very familiar with shopping for them. So I know a fair amount about it. Things to look for in a project car. Well, if you're like me, you have very limited mechanical knowledge. The primary reason I picked this car up and didn't just scrap it was because I wanted to learn how to fix my own cars and stuff and, get my hands dirty a little bit. And this has helped me a lot do that. So if you're like me and you want to do that, maybe look for something that isn't completely junk. Don't go looking for like, I don't know, a $5,000 E60 M5 or anything, because you're going to be in a world of trouble almost immediately. Instead, go and look for something maybe a little like this. I'm not saying this exact car. They have their issues too. But for the most part, it's reliable. So pick yourself up something decently reliable. And reliable doesn't always mean boring. I mean, this is well, at least in my eyes, this is not a boring car. It is it's a pretty fun one. I mean, the aftermarket support's very, very, very low for this car. I don't think there's really any aftermarket support for this car, but that's not what my goal was with this. But my thinking here is if you get something reliable, it'll break less, and the things that tend to break are just wear items that you can just fix yourself mostly. I've done a couple oil changes to this now. The oil filter location is very annoying in this car and very difficult to do sometimes. And yeah, I've had to do oil changes, you know, fix the gas door not closing, uh, like latching correctly. I've had to fix that. That was a really easy fix. I put different wheels on the car. That's really easy to do. That's all stuff I kind of knew how to do already, though. But my advice, just get something somewhat reliable. Maybe it has a few issues you can work out. But other than that, I mean, you're really just set up with a pretty nice little car. And yeah, once you have your project car picked out, maybe it is something a little more reliable like this that you don't have to work on all the time. Or if you're more experienced mechanically, I don't know why you'd be watching my video, because you know a lot more than me. But get yourself something really sketchy and go have fun. But for my case, I went with something more reliable. And next point, once you have your project car figured out and you have the car actually with you, go through, see all its problems. You should probably do this actually as you're buying the car too. Just get with the seller, be like, hey, what are the issues with this car? I don't really care. I'm buying it as a project car. I don't care if it has issues. I just want to know. So you can be ready to fix them. Like with this car, the issues were tie rod was bent, so the car was not drivable. Had a massive dent right there, as you can see, the remnants of that. I didn't do that myself. I got a body shop to do that, but you know, still very cheap to fix. And the fuel pump was out in this car, so that was another reason it couldn't drive. And yeah, those are just a few reasons why this car was free, because if it wasn't sitting and it was drivable, it wouldn't be in my hands. But yeah, just make sure you get the problems disclosed to you, just so you know, just so you can know what you're working with. All right, so once you got all your problems disclosed and stuff like that, you know what you're working with. In my case, like I said, is a bent tie rod and a fuel pump was my major issues. But there's always problems that are underlying that the seller may not disclose, or that you might not find out about until later. Like in my case with the faulty radio, the fuel gauge not working, stuff like that. But that stuff isn't that big of a deal to me personally, because I mean, the fuel gauge, that's just reset the trip odometer every time you fill up, wait 200 miles, fill up again. Pretty simple stuff. The radio not working, that's easily solved too, because you have speaker there, and that does that. So those are some of my underlying issues. You'll probably have the same in your project car, but I'm here to tell you that it's all right if not everything is perfect about it, and you can't fix everything, because you can still enjoy your car. Like I said, I got this car to learn how to do stuff mechanically, and I did do a little bit with the tie rod and the fuel pump. And yeah, that was really my big jump into the deep end for me, honestly, because I never worked on cars before this car. So it was really a big step for me, and it was fun. It was fun. It taught me a lot. But let's go on to the next step in project car ownership, in my opinion. Once you have all your problems and stuff, it's time to actually drive the car and see what it's like. So, things you want to be looking for when you are going to drive your project car for the first time, or really whenever, is just to make sure, well, it's drivable, really. I mean, I was going to say something like, oh, make sure it's safe, make sure everything's all good with it, make sure there's no creaks and rattles, but really no one cares. It's a project car. As long as it drives, it's fun. And make sure it starts, obviously. Oh, huh. Yeah, make sure it starts. That'd be important. Come on. Yes! It starts. Oh yeah, obviously with a project car, not like solution for everybody, but my personal solution is cut the exhaust off, see how it sounds. Obviously it used to be like that in this car, but not anymore. I actually have an exhaust on this car now, just, you know, from the cats all the way back out the back. Of course, that doesn't solve one of my big issues with this car, which is the exhaust leak. And I should roll these windows up. It's probably really windy. Yeah, but I have an exhaust leak in this car. That's really annoying. Don't know where it's coming from, but definitely makes the car sound significantly worse. Yeah. You want to make sure the car is actually drivable more than anything, and just see how fun it is to drive. Because, I mean, if it's not fun to drive, then what's really the point? Project cars are fun. That's what they're meant to do. They're meant to make you smile and have a good time. And sound cool. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So yeah, just make sure it's all drivable and good. And while you're out on the road, make sure you're not gonna die too. If you see like your wheel come off, that's probably a bad sign, I would imagine. If your steering wheel comes off, that's also probably a bad sign, I would imagine. Yeah, if your engine just kind of explodes, that's not really good. Yeah, that kind of stuff I would imagine is not great for owning a car. And yeah, you know, other than that, driving the project car, just to have a good time, make sure you can at least make it from point A to point B. And that's the thing with a lot of project cars, is they sit and they don't get driven because they're broken a lot of the time. And I'm here to tell you, if you have a project car sitting on blocks right now, get it done, get it out. It's summertime. Go have fun with it. Because yeah, it's so enjoyable. And of course, if you have a project car, you'll already know about the potential of the fuel economy. Because a lot of project cars aren't great, because they tend to be older cars, and a lot of them, like mine, have a V8, and fuel economy is bad. If fuel economy wasn't so bad in this car, I'd be dailying it, honestly. But I can't live with 16 miles to the gallon every day. It's just not happening. So my suggestion there is just test out the fuel economy, see what you're working with, and that'll probably gauge you on how much you should drive the car, honestly. Because, I mean, I understand fuel economy is not the most important thing in the world for a project car, yes. But at the same time, you don't want to be draining your bank account, just dumping it all into fuel if nothing else is draining it. Speaking of dumping stuff, be sure to check for oil leaks and stuff too, because that's pretty important. That's a common issue that plagues a lot of project cars and stuff. It's just oil consumption or oil leaks. Or oil pressure. That one's really bad though. Yeah, I'm not familiar with poor oil pressure, so I can't really help you there. But I am familiar with oil leaks, because this car has an oil leak, and it's very annoying, yes, but you kind of just have to, you know, deal with it. You have to, if you can't fix it, you have to get used to it. The smell of oil, very strong all the time whenever you go for decent drive in your project car like mine. And mine's coming from the valve cover gasket, which means, yeah, it's coming straight out of the engine pretty much, and leaks onto the engine block, which gets hot, so you smell hot oil all the time, and it leaks into whatever spot you park it in. Lucky for me, it's not like I come outside to like a gallon of oil on the ground. It's more like I come out to a few drops of oil on the ground. So it's not bad, but it's not ideal either. And yeah, if you're getting a project car, a lot of the time, yeah, you'll have an oil leak. It's not uncommon. Even my A7, that had an oil leak from the valve cover gasket, and that thing was not a project car, although it cost way more than this project car has so far in repair costs. So, you know, that's just kind of how it goes. Anyways, yeah, that's really the things you should be looking out for while you're driving. Is it safe to drive? How much can you drive it realistically? And just what fluids and stuff come out of it when you're driving it, because you don't want too many of those coming out. And yeah, that's that for the driving portion, really. I mean, if I missed anything here, be sure to let me know in the comments, because like I said, I'm not very experienced in all this yet. This is my first one, but I just thought it'd be a fun video to make, just since it's my first one, because this is going to be a video I come back on in the future, I'm sure, and look at it and be like, you were not speaking facts there at all. You need to take a step back and learn a little bit. I can already tell it's going to be one of those videos, but that's not important. What's important is you have a project car, or you're thinking about getting a project car, and I'm just trying to let you know some of my thoughts about the process. So yeah, let's continue that. Yeah, speaking of fluids and stuff, this car smells like hot oil right now because I just drove it. Anyways, yeah, one thing you want to do for sure getting a project car is you're going to want to know how to open the hood, because that's going to be a very important part of your ownership experience. Also, if you're like me, you're going to want to replace the hood struts because they're going to be dead, and you're going to have to hold them up with a crowbar that pokes slowly into the hood and makes a big dent above. Great. Anyways, you want to come under the hood before or after you get your project car for the first time. And there's a plane above me. Awesome. And you want to come below the hood and just check everything out. If you're like me, you want to check all the connectors, make sure those are all connected up, especially this guy, because this guy was not plugged in when I got my car. And of course, I was throwing a check engine light. Great. Not a huge deal. If you're a project car owner, you'll be very familiar with that light. And yeah, it won't really phase you. But if it's a simple fix like that, just plugging a sensor back in to solve it, then that's ideal. Also, of course, you want to check your fluids. Make sure you got oil. Make sure you got coolant. Make sure you got power steering fluid. Make sure you got brake fluid. All the good stuff. You want to check all of it. That's just advice for any car, really. Check your fluids. But yeah, you don't want to overheat, and you don't want to seize your engine, and you want power steering, because my car sometimes doesn't have it. I think I have a slow air leak in the system somewhere. I have to bleed the system every now and then. I've only had to do it once, actually, but yeah, it's still annoying if you have to do that. Yeah. So check your fluids, make sure those are all good. And of course, look at your engine. Just make sure there's no holes in the block or anything. Make sure that's not your reason for not running right or running at all. You're not going to run with a hole in the block, I promise you that. Yeah, just check everything, make sure it's all good. And yeah, if this has seemed like a big checklist to you for owning a project car, it's really not. You don't have to do all these things all the time if you get something a little bit reliable like me. If you're a little more mechanically inclined, you might do it more frequently than I. But for the most part, I checked my oil today, and that's about it. I hopped in the car and drove. So yeah, just make sure if you get a project car, most of all, you are able to keep up with it. Because if you don't keep up with it, it's going to sit and it's going to rot like this car did. Now, this car wasn't a project car originally. It was a daily driver. But after the accident it had, it sat and rotted for 10 years. But luckily, I got it back up on the road, and it runs pretty good. If you get one of these, specifically Q45s, make sure you look out for the knock sensor issues that plague the VH41DE motors. Scary. Not scary, but it can cut power. I'm sure I've explained this in a different video, but make sure you look out for it nonetheless. And yeah, that'll pretty much do it. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments. I'm sure I did. I am almost positive I did, in fact. There's a lot of stuff to go over with this. And I kind of just wanted to throw together a video real quick. I'm sorry, it's not the highest quality video this week, but I just felt like I wanted to get some things about this off my chest, and I thought it'd be a good idea. So yeah, for sure let me know in the comments if I missed anything, or if I could have done anything better. And yeah, I read and respond to all of them. Also, be sure to like the video and subscribe. Yeah, I completely forgot to check to see if it does that on the video, but I'm going to. I will. I want to see if it lights up the subscribe button. That'd be funny. But anyways, that's it. This is Project Car Life. And yeah, I'm gonna try and do more stuff with this car, more fun stuff. It is a project car. I can goof off a little bit with it. So yeah, if you have any suggestions about that, leave it in the comments below. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. See ya.